The Kennedy Kids Dynasty on Entertainment Tonight.
At 10:30.
I had no idea what was going on. I knew the plant was there, but I didn't know nothing about it.
Tonight on 48 Hours.
I wanted to know what that big sprawling thing was.
A radioactive scandal explodes.
The whole site is a waste dump. You just don't touch anything.
The lab tests show that there's enriched U-235 in the soil here.
The government admits it's hidden the dangers for decades.
The situation is a lot worse than we even thought when we first started.
They took it upon themselves to stay hidden back in this factory for 37 years and not tell the public what they were doing.
A meltdown of trust.
It makes you wonder, are they going to keep on lying to you?
A cloud of anger and fear.
She just passed away with cancer.
My husband died of cancer.
She got 2 kids with cancer from a family that doesn't have any cancer in it.
As Americans wonder what price their children will pay for national security.
We're making these weapons to protect ourselves, yet we're harming our own people in the process.
You may not know it, but chances are there's some kind of nuclear weapons plant not far from where you live. There are 49 major facilities around the country in 23 states. For 40 years, these places have helped make the bomb. But are they safe? For decades, the government said, trust us, there's nothing to worry about. But now, the government admits that some of the plants have been releasing radiation into our air and our water. For 48 hours, come along with us as Americans ask their nuclear neighbors a simple and scary question. What have you done to us?
Fernald, Ohio, just outside Cincinnati, is living proof that looks can be deceiving. It's a Norman Rockwell picture of a peaceful, tranquil America. Except Fernald is not peaceful or tranquil. Fernald, Ohio, has a nuclear bomb factory in its backyard run by the U.S. Department of Energy.
I have a 10-year-old, and he drank the water from the time he was 2 until he was 7. You know, and our well was contaminated. And I wonder, when he's in his 20s, is he going to have cancer? I wonder if I'm going to be around to see my child.
Lisa Crawford and her family lived across the road from the plant where uranium is processed into nuclear reactor fuel. 5 years went by before they were told their drinking water was contaminated with uranium and hazardous chemicals.
This wasn't some foreign government doing this.
No, this was the Department of Energy, which is a branch of the U.S. American government. And they took it upon themselves to stay hidden back in this factory for 37 years and not tell the public what they were up to and what they were doing.
For obvious reasons, the operation of a nuclear bomb factory is cloaked in secrecy, but one of those secrets has just been revealed, and it has this community frightened and angry. It turns out that U.S. government officials knew for decades that this plant was routinely releasing tons of radioactive uranium waste into the air, into the soil, and into the water. And those same officials made a conscious decision not to tell the community about it.
That's the message they have sent to me. They did not care. Production was more important. Making weapons across the United States is more important than people's health and safety, and that's wrong.
There's a town meeting in Fernald tonight of a citizens group called FRESH. Lisa Crawford is the director.
FRESH stands for what?
Fernald Residents for Environmental Safety and Health.
Have you been a crusader all your life?
No.
An activist all your life?
No, I'm very new at this.
That's it, right? That's it, right?
That's it. That's the plant. There's your wonderful cow grazing out in front of it.
It looks sort of nice.
Yeah, it really does. but it's got a false face on it.
False face.
A false face. It looks nice, but it's not nice.
What is it that keeps you going?
Motivation for the people. I need some volunteers to help me put up some chairs.
The people who came are afraid. They don't know how much danger they're in, and they don't know what to do. Tonight's meeting is with doctors from Cincinnati.
What is our greatest health risk if we sit here who live around the plant?
It's being looked at. The answers are unclear again, but I think it will be restudied in light of this.
I hope you guys hurry up, and do your surveys, because it's too late for us to move.
But I was just wondering which one of you would like to come out here and drink our water, live here and breathe our air, and eat the produce that comes off the ground out here. I mean, I feel like someone should tell us to leave because it's harming our children.
The clear and present danger to dying. First, unequivocally, no doubt everybody agrees, are the releases from the tank farms.
We're making these weapons to protect ourselves, yet we're harming our own people in the process. And I go back to say it's wrong. I mean, somebody made this very good statement the other day, one of our fresh people did, that Chernobyl was an accident. And the U.S. was so outraged. My God, they didn't tell us for 3 whole days. They've been sitting up here for 37 years and didn't tell us. And Chernobyl wasn't an accident. Chernobyl was done on purpose.
In 1985, when she found out her water was contaminated, Lisa Crawford filed a $300 million lawsuit on behalf of the 14,000 people who live near the weapons plant. She sued National Lead of Ohio, the company hired to operate the factory.
We did that because they took away one of our rights. They made a choice for us. And we're going to go to court and we're going to carry it through till the end because we're going to prove a point. You can't go around making choices for people.
What do you mean? What choice did they make for you?
They made a choice for my family to drink contaminated water.
But 7 weeks ago, the Department of Energy said National Lead was just following U.S. government orders and therefore was not liable and could not be sued. On top of that, the Department of Energy says it can't be sued either. Why? Because citizens cannot sue the federal government over its policy decisions.
The reason the Department of Energy filed this pleading admitting everything wasn't because they're stupid, but it's because they're cunning and malicious right to the end.
Congressman Tom Lukin of Ohio. You talked about the enormity, your word, of the government lying to the American people. Explain, what do you mean by that?
They have now admitted that they were totally aware of the fact that this radiation pollution was going on and that they were directing that it continue. Their cynical reason for admitting it is to avoid liability and to continue to treat the public as the enemy.
In Norman Rockwell's America, people are old-fashioned patriotic citizens. Criticizing their government doesn't come easy. Except now, a lot of them say they feel betrayed.
We're not un-American at all. Not at all. We love our country. We're good, hard-working, tax-paying American citizens that's just had a wrong done against us. And we feel like we have to fight back.
I've been here 32 years. I started there in 1980. It was a job. I'd come out of the service and come to work here.
The Fernald plant.
I wish they would have told us years ago what we was into out here. I didn't think there was really anything in there to hurt us.
For its workers, it's a dangerous place.
Right now, I just feel like a laboratory rat.
It is here the government takes one of its first steps in making nuclear bombs. It's here uranium is transformed from a substance called green salt into the metals that fuel nuclear reactors. It's here where the danger was born.
The whole site is a waste dump. I mean, it's a huge waste dump, all 1,050 acres of it, virtually. I mean,
Dr. Richard Shank is director of Ohio's Environmental Protection Agency.
I've never seen a drum storage area this big.
Under mounting state pressure, the Department of Energy has allowed his agency to enter the plant to test radiation levels.
Just don't touch anything.
But Shank and his colleagues can't force the government to clean up its mess.
This is what I was telling you about. They use paint to identify
the waste as it was generated. And this was a few years ago. And the paint that they used was not weatherproof paint. And as a result, green turned blue, blue turned green, yellow turned, you know, so after a year or so out here, they can't tell what they have out here.
So plutonium could be thorium, and thorium could be uranium.
Could be anything. For all we know, there could be incompatible waste stored together out here.
They never told you anything. I couldn't even go home and tell my wife what I did out here. Everything was top secret. And
A strike by workers during our 48 hours against the current contractor Westinghouse shut down Fernald's uranium production.
He's finding out through the news media everything that went on.
One of the strikers' major demands, health insurance.
By God, they should be paying them 50% hazardous pay like they pay the servicemen when they go into a dangerous area to work.
For years, the plant belched hundreds of tons of uranium dust into the air because dust collectors didn't work. And since the plant opened, almost 13 million pounds of radioactive waste has either been buried or stored on the plant grounds. We know there's been uranium salts put in those pits, thorium salts, and some other materials, and some of which they probably don't even know.
What do you think of this rubber cover, this big glad bag they've got laid down in here?
Well, you can see how it's even starting to, how it's weathering and cracking here. But I mean, that's typical for that type of liner. Something that large with as much weight as is there isn't that stable over time.
I know dumping the residue and stuff in them pits that it was going all over the county. I mean, the wind was blowing it out. They said, well, it's heavy, it won't blow. Well, you take a hurricane, it'll blow anything out in there.
The K-65 silos. This is one of those areas that, as far as we're concerned, don't need any more study. These store radioactive waste going all the way back to America's first atomic bombs. They know what the problem is, they know what they have in there, they know the condition of those silos. The sides are cracked, the domes are brittle, and radon gas leaks out. They've taken interim measures which really aren't adequate and don't solve the problem. They pile dirt up against the silos at one point and to stabilize them, and now they're proposing to put sand in there, which basically increases the amount of radioactive waste they're going to have to dispose of by 25 to 50%. It's probably one of the biggest threats to the people that live in this area and the people that work in this plant. If the domes ever did collapse, it'd be a massive release of material. They've been lucky so far. They've had releases. No one's been killed. But
when I came here, they said they had radiation, but in very low levels. Nothing that could hurt you, which is what they've been telling people around here and all the workers, that this is just like a big dose of sunburn or something like that.
Throughout our investigation, the Department of Energy refused to answer charges made against the plant. DOE's never going to be able to walk away from this site. They're going to have a financial commitment that's going to go for the next 100 years or more.
Well, I feel like we've all been betrayed. I have.
What they was telling us years ago was nothing but a bald-faced lie.
Is it a crime? Is it a shame? Is it a disaster? What is this?
It's all of those things.
Created to slip the bounds of nature and powered by an unrelenting force within. The intercooled, turbocharged Dodge Daytona Shelby. Total performance, body and soul.
There's something exciting going on this Friday and Saturday at JCPenney, the two-day sale. 2 big days to save throughout the store. The 2-day sale this Friday and Saturday.
JCPenney.
Today's Duracell batteries are built to last up to 30% longer than the ones we made a few years back. Guaranteeing a long, happy life. Today's Duracell lasts 30% longer.
Jackie, get over here and get on your quad runner.
There's got to be something wrong, or they wouldn't speak out the way they are.
I had no idea what was going on. I knew the plant was there, but I didn't know nothing about it.
I wanted to know what that big sprawling thing was, and and when I called, they told me they made lead shields.
Did you know what they made over there?
Not really.
I thought it was a feed materials plant because it had a checkerboard, and who cares if a little dust from a feed company gets on you?
I tell them where I live, and they said, "Are you kidding? You live by Fernald?" Yeah. You know, everybody thinks I'm stupid because I live here.
Here is right across the street from Fernald.
I gotta get on my moped and chase her down sometimes.
A trailer park overlooking the trees and the cows downwind from the plant. Residents don't think it's a healthy place to be.
I don't care. I'll tell you this. I'm concerned about Fernald, but because my husband died of cancer.
The lady that lived in this one right here, she just passed away with cancer. The man that lived in the black and white mobile home passed away with cancer. And the lady in the very first mobile home on the other side, she passed away with cancer.
And your mother?
And my mother passed away with cancer.
Now Barbara Royston has cancer.
Knowing that you lived close to that, and they're saying it's not hurting us, after a while, you know it must be.
The kids get sick around here a lot. My baby has asthma attacks. Me and my husband both work to support 2 children. We can't afford just to up and get away.
Many of Fernald's neighbors feel trapped. For those just starting out, there is sickness and no money to move.
This was woods.
You had to clear the site.
Yeah, just like those woods over there.
For those rounding out their lives, there is also sickness and no money to move.
I was very upset. Upset the fact that I had such a nice house here and people wouldn't buy it. You went straight over to the plant. It is less than 3/4 of a mile.
You can see the plant from Jim and Shirley Pierce's house. They wanted to get away because something was making them and their dogs sick.
Does she flinch? No, she doesn't flinch when you rub it, but it is hard. It feels like a golf ball.
All of a sudden, the hair just
He said that poodles will sometimes lose some hair, but not at this extent.
This is not a crew cut. This is
No.
bald.
I've had tumors taken off. My wife's had pre-cancer tumors removed.
The Pierces don't trust their running water because their well is contaminated.
Doesn't look so dangerous, does it?
No, it doesn't.
At his request, the state EPA tested the water.
I'll tell you, he said, if you've got any livestock or any animals, do not let them drink this water.
Did you ask him whether you should drink it?
Yeah, he said, well, normally it might not hurt you if you're used to it.
Not satisfied, Pierce had his water tested independently.
They didn't wait to send out a form letter or anything. They sent people out here to tell us not to drink the water.
Why?
They said it was poison, said it would kill you. Just that simple.
The time catches up with everyone. Believe me.
A daily walk in the mall helps Bill McFarland blow off steam.
It takes a lot to get me angry, but when I do, I really explode. We're getting very near that right now. I am. Because we wake up in the morning, we talk about Fernald. You go to bed at night, you talk about Fernald. We live close enough where we hear it, see it, and half the time smell it. We are 1,100 feet right down here from their fence line.
Bill and his wife Gerda poured all of their savings into this 7-acre property.
Come on, cheater.
Now Bill has colon cancer.
We've lived here for 17 years, and he's never had anything. So I think there's been an awful lot of uranium and radiation, and I think that my husband is a victim.
And yet the tests say the water, the air, the atmosphere, the soil is normal for the area. Where does that leave you?
Hanging.
There's no more gardening.
We used to have melons this big.
There are no more cattle.
And that was my hobby, raising cattle.
The McFarlands just don't believe the soil is safe.
They're talking about 20 years cleaning this place up. 20 years, my wife and I will be gone. We want out. We want to live yet. We do. We want to live yet. And where, I don't know. But I'll find a place.
Yeah, our golden years. It's not even funny anymore when they say your golden years when you're old. We don't have any golden years.
Nissan has developed a new high-performance sports car with a modified Z-Car engine, anti-sway bars front and rear, and anti-lock brakes. The cockpit was designed for one 6'2" driver and 4 6'2" passengers. Introducing the new Nissan Maxima, the 4-door sports car.
At UPS, we're changing the look of the international delivery business. Because now, UPS delivers to every country in Western Europe, the Pacific Rim, Down Under, and Canada. And because we're so efficient, we can deliver your international parcels and documents for fewer francs, yen, or drachmas than other companies charge. An accomplishment we feel deserves a little flag waving. UPS, we run the tightest ship in the shipping business.
Whenever she meets him, he is there. Whatever his pain, she will soothe him.
I'm trying to spare you more disappointment.
Theirs is a love so pure, so passionate, so forbidden. The season premiere of Beauty and the Beast, Friday.
For those of you who were there, you are again. For those of you who were not, you are now. 4 days in November with Dan Rather, next.
If you suffer from alcohol or drug abuse and think only a miracle will help you, remember, miracles happen to people who believe in them. Reach out. Help will be there.
America's bomb factories are showing their age. Tonight, not one plant in a nationwide assembly line is producing weapons-grade material for nuclear defense. The reactor at Hanford in Washington state has been shut down since 1987, and the federal government has begun a radiation study of its neighbors. The plant at Rocky Flats, just outside Denver, shut down its plutonium production in October. And in South Carolina, questions about safety brought reactors at the giant Savannah River plant to a halt as well.
Savannah River plant, can I help you?
The reactor itself sits at ground level directly under the large tower that you see there. The building with the fins on the side.
That plant is the safest nuclear installation in the world, not just the United States, in the world.
Sprawled over 300 square miles near Aiken, South Carolina, the Savannah River plant is the nation's sole source of tritium. Tritium is the key explosive material for hydrogen bombs. Age, safety questions, and maintenance needs have shut all 5 reactors at Savannah River, raising the prospect that some of the nation's nuclear warheads might have to be deactivated within a year. The plant's workers are still on the job. Among them, Fran Davis.
Do you think that if there were some severe safety problems out there, that you could convince 16 or 17,000 people to go out there every day, to live in this area, to put their children at risk?
Fran's husband, Neil, works at the Savannah River plant, too.
We are in the middle of the radioactive liquid waste tank farm right now, and we keep it within clean area limits. You can wear your street clothes on most of it. I wouldn't be working here if I didn't think it was safe. You know, I value my family, my children, and I wouldn't live in this area if I didn't think it was safe.
Come give me a hug. Hi. How are you? Kate, sit down. Kate, you getting it all over
Okay, you're getting it all over your sweatshirt.
The Davises came south from Massachusetts 12 years ago. Their daughters, Diane and Katie, were born here.
You were pregnant with these little girls, working every day in that plant.
Working in radiation areas. If you're asking me, did I think about it? Yes, I thought about it. I spoke to my gynecologist about it, but I never felt scared. I never felt that I was damaging the child.
Lock the door behind her both legs.
I am 36 years old. I have an 11-year-old son.
Michael Lau, a member of the environmental group Greenpeace, is more fearful about the effect of the plant on his child. He crisscrosses the state seeking testimony on the plant's operation from workers often reluctant to talk.
There's 30 years of indoctrination. There's 30 years, I mean, read the signs on the highway. Security is your job. You talk about this plant, you will lose your job. That's the bottom line.
It's not fair. The bottom line of our performance is that they're very safe. There has never been an accident in any of the reactors.
David Ward is a reactor engineer with DuPont, which runs the plant for the government. Ward says the safety crisis has been created by Washington officials seeking to prepare the public and Congress to spend billions of dollars to modernize the nation's nuclear weapons plants.
We in DuPont started suggestions and development plans for a new production reactor 10 or 12 years ago. That hasn't been funded. It's not very politically popular to come out and say we've got to stick tens of billions of dollars over
Earlier in our 48 hours, Ward spoke to a conference of educators in Augusta, Georgia.
So one way to make it politically acceptable is to create a story, is to create an appearance of some sort of major safety crisis at the plants. I think that's what's happening.
You said somebody, and I assume you mean people in Washington, you said there's a lot of bureaucratic infighting going on and that this is very political.
I think a crisis is being created. It's unprofessional, it's wasteful, it's counterproductive. It's really kind of an affront to the taxpayers. It's an affront to me, I'll tell you that.
And it would scare a lot of people.
Unnecessarily, yes.
Still, DuPont officials acknowledge this plant's nuclear reactors have experienced thousands of incidents, 30 of which are called serious by the plant's own managers. News of these problems often failed to reach the top levels in Washington. Despite 38 years of plant operations without a fatality, government investigators have cited a record of inadequate training and a lax and complacent attitude.
There are millions of gallons of liquid, high-level waste, millions of gallons of irradiated water that have been poured directly into unlined seepage basins here. And it's going to cost $10 billion to clean that up.
Some of that money is being spent to close the open pits. Chuck Travis, an independent contractor, was hired to help do the job.
Hopefully we can develop toward a better technology which will generate less waste. We would hate to have to turn into the equivalent of catfish, which can live in the bottom of a muddy stream and survive on anything.
To meet the nation's need for tritium, one of the plant's reactors is scheduled to be restarted next month.
Is there any risk?
Well, there's risk in every activity of man. Certainly there's risk here, but the risk is very small. Your flight back to Washington this afternoon is going to put you in much more danger. For us to have tritium to provide for our strategic defense, we run these reactors.
I do wonder sometimes if there isn't something unknown out there that, you know, that could affect us. But I don't think I would look back and feel bad about it. I really feel like people have tried to make it as safe as they can. I feel like the people that worked in coal mines for all them years honestly felt like what they were doing was safe at the time.
The DuPont people at Savannah River, the people who had been running the plant, say they're running an absolutely safe plant, that nobody's died, nobody's sick, nobody's injured.
You can't have any complacency about saying everything's fine and we haven't had any problems or we don't think we've had any significant problems here.
Just because nobody's died.
That's right. If you look at the last few years at Savannah River, they've had several problems. They have one reactor called the C reactor that they had to shut down several years ago because of cracks in the reactor walls. There's some evidence and concern about there being cracks in the other reactors, but they've never...
The Department of Energy has been responsible for maintaining the operation of the nuclear defense complex. And as the record has shown through the years, and is evidenced by the fact that many of its facilities are shut down today, it has not been doing an adequate job.
Dexter Peach and Keith Foltz work for the General Accounting Office, the investigative arm of Congress. You've told Congress, quote, plant operations at Savannah River have contaminated streams,
On the plant site, you've also said the plant contaminated groundwater up to 116,000 times greater than the drinking water standards. And you said that leaks from high-level waste storage tanks have contaminated about 30,000 square feet of soil underlying the tanks. Savannah River.
All documented. Comes right out of DOE records, as a matter of fact.
Well, you know what? I'm just tempted to ask you, what is going on? What's going on? I mean, this is serious.
Yeah, it's serious. There's not...
Since 1981, they have issued more than 50 reports to Congress on the Department of Energy's nuclear weapons complex. In one, they call America's network of nuclear weapons factories potentially one of the most dangerous industrial operations in the world.
What we demonstrated in that report was that the Department of Energy, through the years, had contaminated virtually every one of its facilities located in some 17 states throughout the United States. Virtually every one of the facilities has some type of environmental contamination. It's sort of like turning over rocks out there. You just keep turning over more rocks and finding things under each one you turn over. And you ultimately find out, geez, the situation is a lot worse than we even thought when we first started.
Well, how bad is it?
You know, we're talking about numbers over the next 20 years to clean up the facilities and have them operating in an environmentally sound way of $100 to $150 billion.
How did we get to the situation where plants are leaking radiation, plants are shut down for a variety of safety reasons?
The situation where we find ourselves today should not have come as a surprise to anybody. The nuclear weapons complex, as you stated, is 40-some years old. We as a nation can no longer allow this contamination to occur. We need to begin to take the steps to clean up the facilities. We need to begin to take the steps to assure the American public that we can operate these facilities in a safe manner. And we no longer can say, we'll do it next week or we'll do it next year. The time has to be now.
This is the Department of Energy headquarters in Washington. We tried repeatedly to talk to Energy Secretary John Harrington about the nuclear weapons plants that he oversees, about their problems and about their future. But Secretary Harrington refused to talk to 48 Hours. In fact, he would not allow any of the 16,500 Energy Department employees in 23 states and right here in Washington to talk to us either.
I love to cook.
Someday I'll teach you how to make a spaghetti sauce from scratch.
I already know. You open the jar and pour it.
No, I mean the DeLuca secret sauce.
Secret.
You take the ripest tomatoes, the perfect blend of oregano, basil, garlic, and onion, and let it simmer till it's thick. Thick, thick. The thicker the better.
But that's the way ragu makes thick and hearty.
So why are we whispering?
Because the Volkswagen Fox has front-wheel drive. Because it has negative steering roll radius. Because even our least expensive Volkswagen is a Volkswagen. When our engineers blow a tire, their greatest concern is deciding who's going to change it. German engineering the Volkswagen way.
48 Hours will continue.
Two families at odds. One wants to get even.
Retribution. It's a code of the hill. The law calls it murder.
And Jessica's caught in the middle on Murder, She Wrote. Then Brooke Shields, Pretty Baby.
You are joking.
Or Femme Fatale, swept up in the Continental Caper of the Century.
Diamonds, 12.5 million scoops worth.
And when it comes to brilliant schemes, this one's a gem. Howard Heston, Brooke Shields, and Ed Marinaro are caught in The Diamond Trap.
Very mysterious.
Sunday. This is CBS.
To make sure our food is as good as it can be, Shoney's is proud to announce a new addition to our test kitchen. Leroy. most people who say they can fix a better breakfast than Shoney's end up with egg on their face.
Pepsi-Cola is pleased to announce that E.T. has come home on video cassette. And Pepsi is offering a special $5 rebate with the purchase of an E.T. video and Pepsi.
Will it be another rainy football weekend? We're forecast at 10.
Hey, sit down. I'm not done. I'm not ready yet. Sit.
I've got 5 kids. I'm 30 years old, and I don't want to have to worry if I'm going to get lung cancer within the next 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, but he never...
I want to see my kids grow up and have kids.
Marion Curry and her husband Lynn both work at the Fernald plant. They met on the job and recently married. Last month, while testing unmarked waste barrels, Marion came in contact with plutonium. Fearing contamination, she asked to be checked for radiation exposure.
So our boss came in the next day and he says, well, you can all do it if you want, you know, it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. And then the next day it was a big overkill. We overkilled it. It was, you know, with a little bit of plutonium, you know.
Oh, that you were exaggerating.
Yeah, that we were making a mountain out of a molehill.
The Currys have 5 children from previous marriages. Now they want a child together.
I guess when you want to have a baby, you never know when it's going to happen. You know, you don't know. And I thought, well, what if I'm pregnant right now, and I've got plutonium in me? You know, that would kill me.
The Currys are still waiting for the results of Marion's tests, but they would find it hard to believe whatever they're told now.
I just don't trust their answers now.
Not even on something as critical as that.
No, especially something as critical as that.
It makes you feel, you know, are they going to keep on lying to you?
I read the Bible, and it gives me strength to know that I have got someplace to go if I can meet him, the good maker that gives me eternal life. That's the only thing I've got to look forward to, because man has destroyed me here, and you can't put faith in man.
34 years ago, Herb Kelly got a job at the plant. 4 years ago, he was too sick to work anymore.
I have got fibrosis of the right lung, 2 lobes are gone, Fanconi syndrome, a kidney infection or disease due to breathing acid fumes and uranium dust, cancer of the left lung, and I am real hurt because the company hasn't showed no concern about me. They canceled my insurance.
Carilla Kelly works to defray Herb's mounting medical bills. He can't get workman's compensation. The plant won't accept responsibility and didn't want to talk to 48 Hours about this or any other case.
I don't think we found out that the job was dangerous until he became sick, you know. And then the ultimate thing was when they came out last or 2 weeks ago and told us that, hey, we knew this all the time and we knew this was hazardous to your health, but we just kept it under our hats.
I told the foreman that month, the month that I went off sick, 3 or 4 times that month, that, excuse me, that dust collector was something wrong with it. And they gave me the understanding that it wasn't none of my business, that they didn't give a hoot. They knew about it in the front office. Leave it run and don't worry about it.
They knew uranium was going out?
They knew it was going out at that time.
I was very proud of our government. Well, I can't say that after they have told us this, I can say after they told us this, that this has really been a letdown, that they have deceived us, they've lied to us. I tell you, it's just been really bad. Dillard, like the rest of them, didn't ask questions why, where it was coming from, or what they were doing. They just did it. He more or less just done what he was told to do. They didn't tell him that you're working in something other that you're going to pay for it later. Why, that would have scared Dillard to death. He'd have left, he wouldn't have stayed around an hour.
What are those?
This is just little certificates that he gets ever so often.
Nell Stevens is a widow. Her husband, Dillard, worked at Fernald more than 30 years.
It says presented in recognition of the excellent record of personal safety while on the job for 15 years.
Okay.
For 15 years, for 17 years, 27 years.
He never smoked. He had no family history of cancer. Yet he died last year from lung cancer and other complications.
Yeah, makes you wonder. Yeah, it does.
Do you wonder about it a lot?
I wish we'd have known earlier.
Does it make you angry? Does it... I guess it's too late.
No, we're not angry, but confused and hurt.
Mm-hmm. That people knew that it was dangerous and yet...
And didn't help.
Yeah. Are you convinced that what your husband did, the job he did, is what eventually took his life?
Yes, very definitely. I'd swear to it.
If I thought we were here in Aiken, South Carolina, in excessive exposure, I would never stay here. I wouldn't have come in the first place.
It's a charming town, and it has no drawback. There's not a feeling here of panic or concern.
An accident at the Savannah River plant would be of great concern to anyone in town, but there hasn't been one, and there won't be.
I've had 9 children that I've raised here, and Mary's had 11. And we certainly would never be in a place that we considered unsafe. Would never, expose our children to that danger.
I don't think that we've been shielded from the truth here.
Unlike Fernald, the people of Aiken, South Carolina are comfortable with the nuclear weapons plant that has been their neighbor for the last 35 years and confident about its safety. It's big business here. Of the 17,000 people who work at the Savannah River plant, 60% live in Aiken County. They say it's brought them prosperity and a good life.
How about a cup of coffee?
Every morning, some of Aiken's businessmen gather at the Holly Inn to gossip over coffee. They've seen the impact the plant has had on their sleepy southern town.
It made this town. Because I came here back in '46, and you starved to death 6 months out of the year.
I'm in real estate and development, and this has been good to me. I'll be honest.
We should have a stoplight in the town. Does that tell you something?
Aiken's world-class golf and leisurely lifestyle have drawn retired people from all over the north.
We're not afraid of being exposed. It's highly exaggerated, and I really resent it.
George Farland, a doctor, moved here from Michigan 8 years ago.
Because I don't want anybody coming into this area and spoiling our retirement.
We've got $15 million worth of horses under management, so we wanted to have a perfect environment.
Cot Campbell owns and trains thoroughbreds at his Dogwood stables.
You know, this has been for many decades one of the greatest training grounds in America. 36 champions have trained on this racetrack and in this environment, and it hasn't hurt them any, and maybe we've got some that maybe need a double dose of whatever's going around. I'm a very trusting soul and a very optimistic type, and I talk to the people at the plant and say, how's everything out there? And they say, it's great, don't worry about anything, everything's good. I don't scrutinize it.
The people we know who are down there are sensible men. They're not maniacs, they're not weird. We feel that if they say it's safe, it's as safe as it possibly can be.
some of the reports from the Department of Energy suggest that the problems here are a lax attitude towards safety. People who, just this August, for example, when they tried to restart the reactor, and it was not functioning properly, but they did not stop it. Later, the investigator concluded that the operators did not know what was going wrong, did not have the basic training and information to correct it, but still continued anyway until the reactor shut itself down. So that's not very encouraging.
It's pretty hard for us to comment on that because none of us are nuclear scientists and we don't know.
I don't think that anybody at this table knows anybody that would put his job before his family's health and welfare.
And basically, you don't believe it?
Well, I believe the people that have worked there firsthand before I believe these reports from 1,000 miles away.
Aiken's faith in the plant's safety is unshaken, despite the recent admissions by the Department of Energy that there are severe problems with Savannah River's safety, equipment, and management.
I think the greatest concern that I've ever seen was the concern that there's a possibility that it would close up.
If things start glowing in the dark, all of a sudden I'm going to say, hey, something's wrong around here, you know?
I guess it would take some concrete documentation that my water is poisoned, that my air is poisoned, that my children are going to be mutants.
I think it's a myth. The anti-nuclear people have conjured up this and tried to frighten people from, into moving away from Aiken.
When it comes to doing business worldwide, you gotta think in global proportions. You gotta know how the world turns, because you want it to turn your way. You gotta speak the language. You gotta travel with a fast crowd. It's a big world out there. You gotta do everything you can to make it smaller. This reminder from Federal Express that it's not just a package, it's your business.
Ride with the wind when you're one with the road. You can feel every move that you're in control. It's the new spirit. It's gotta be the spirit of Dodge. It's the new spirit. The new spirit of Dodge. The new spirit of Dodge.
On Dallas, will JR escape from prison?
If my brothers catch you, they'll kill you.
Only to fall victim to something worse? Then, on Falcon Crest, it's a murder charge for life.
Could mean the death penalty.
But a real killer is loose. It all happens Friday.
Sullivan and Smith. They get you up in the morning. Sullivan and Smith. Only on CBS This Morning.
After I got married, I wanted to have 3 boys. And a special one. That's what I wanted. I wanted 3 boys. Such a special one because it has a horses on it? Yeah. Okay. And I had 4. Louis was a bonus. You want the orange juice, Louis? Yeah. Is that what you want? Okay.
In northwest Cincinnati, life had been just about perfect for Linda Zinser. Her full-time job of raising 4 boys was almost over.
Do you want to make it yourself?
Only Louis was at home to mother.
You want me to make it? You don't want to make it yourself?
2 years ago, doctors discovered that Louis had cancer.
Linda, you better watch out for him. He's really tough.
Part of his left leg had to be amputated.
This little boy's getting awfully strong.
Well, he was almost 3. He seemed so little to me, and I thought that was going to be difficult to tell him.
You want to show your mother the nest?
He knew about being sick. So the only thing he could think of was just to tell him that his leg was really, really sick.
Were you frightened?
Yeah, I was scared.
Well, this is really beautiful country.
Mm-hmm. There are times like when the vegetables come on where you're down here every day. And like planting time, you know, like for about a week, you know, you're down here every day.
Good old-fashioned hard work, a family hobby. That's what Charles Zinser had in mind when he rented this land for a vegetable garden about a mile from the Fernald plant.
Sam, did you spend a lot of time in the dirt here? Yeah? What did you spend the most time doing?
Probably picking the corn and the getting the potatoes and bringing them.
When it comes to digging potatoes, that was Sam's thing. He liked to get right down there in the dirt.
Sam Zinser is a hefty, healthy-looking 11.
I don't think you picked very many beans.
Yes, I did. I picked a lot.
Just a month before Lewis was diagnosed, the Zinsers found out that Sam had leukemia.
She got 2 kids with cancer from a family that doesn't have any cancer in it, within a month of each other, different cancers. These are all signs of a possible environmental cause or pollution.
You have 2 sons with cancer, and you decide you're going to do an independent lab study. And what does the study show you?
The lab tests show that there's enriched U-235 in the soil here. It meant to the doctor that there is plant involvement, that they have allowed enriched material to come into here, and enriched material is more volatile health-wise than unrefined.
Dangerous radioactive particles in the air floating around growing children whose cells are most susceptible to cancer. Sam is still going through chemotherapy.
Hello?
How many calls do you get?
It's my understanding it's going to be live.
About what television show you're going to be on?
I guess we'll be up front, I don't know.
And what newspaper's going to interview you?
Newsweek.
And what magazine's going to take your picture?
Bye.
Do you like it?
Well, I'd rather not, I guess. You mean be in front of the camera and everything? Not really.
Why do you do it?
Because my husband says he thinks we need to.
24 hours later,
everybody right down front.
The Zinsers made a live appearance on the Donahue Show.
You've become more famous than you ever wanted to be. You're on the cover of everything. I want you to know this. I'll do everything I can to get to all parts of the room. We want you in here.
Do you ever worry about taking your kids to something like that? Does it become a circus, using your kids in that way?
I'm sure there's that element of it, and I do worry about it. The wife does.
We are here with the Zinsers, who you may have seen in Time magazine, including Louis. Can I ask Louis, do you mind if I ask you to sit up here on the stage for just a second? This will just take a minute. I won't take long here. Louis has become more famous than he ever wanted to be. Louis is wearing a prosthesis, as you see.
How else are we going to get exposure for this thing?
What caused the loss was the occurrence of a Ewing sarcoma bone tumor in Louis' lower left leg.
This is a community problem, a national problem.
What's the condition of your other child?
ALL. It's acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
I feel this is something that shouldn't be just kept in a box here in Cincinnati in the corner of Hamilton County.
What do you want people to know about that plan?
Well, I guess I just want them to know that that it's causing all this sickness and that we should do something about it.
Family in Green Hills on their claim. Larry, I'm ignorant. I can't respond.
At the Fernald plant, a give and take between some employees and management.
The ones that was in Time magazine in regard to the artificial leg and other medical problems.
The workers question the boss about the Zinser boys.
The facts are that those 2 little boys are sick. The other facts are that we cannot find anything off-site that even approaches by large factors amounts of radioactive contamination that would be of concern.
All I know is Louis got elevated amounts of uranium in his leg, where the doctors told me, he says, I shouldn't have found any uranium in his leg. He's only 2 years old. And at the most, 10 parts per million, because that's what you find in a normal adult.
And Louis had
100 parts per million. Sam, you're what? Just 2 plain fried eggs?
Linda, what do you most want for your sons?
I want for them to be able to stay healthy. I really fear the recurrence of the cancer. I pray that that doesn't happen.
Doesn't seem fair, does it? Because you have a whole long life ahead of you.
I hope so.
Right now, there are at least a dozen congressional investigations into the bomb factory scandal. And while Congress wrestles with how to pay for the mess, the neighbors of some nuclear facilities are wondering what price they will have to pay. I'm Dan Rather. That's 48 Hours, In a few moments, I'll be back with a CBS News special, 4 Days in November, the assassination of President Kennedy. We hope you'll stay with us.
You know, the problem may not be your phone, but your long-distance phone company. Switch to Sprint. Get the best sound quality and save as much as 10, 20, even 30%.
The new Remington Electroblade vibrating blade system has been an amazing success for those who prefer shaving with a blade. Electroblade's vibrating twin blades glide so easily you'll get the closest, smoothest blade shave you've ever imagined or your money back.
If you like our hot, flaky Sara Lee croissants for breakfast, may we make a little suggestion for dinner? Sara Lee petite croissants.
Nobody doesn't like Sara Lee.
For every investment expert who says the market's going up, an expert says it's going down. If the experts can't be certain, what chance do you have? A much better chance if you invest in Nuveen for steady, tax-free income. Nuveen. It's the long-term investment of certainty in a climate of uncertainty. Nuveen. America's tax-free investments.
For more information, call your broker or financial advisor or 800-372-1500.
How will you live in the next century? Suddenly, life will be more comfortable, smoother, and quicker. Introducing the new 1989 Buick Century with premium features you expect from the best-selling Buick on the American road. All at a price that will let you enter the next century very comfortably. Save up to $1,500 on Century with $500 cash back and option packages.
Next on 48 Hours.
They shoot anything and everything.
War in Africa's wild.
It's really a guerrilla-type warfare.
The rhino on the run. With a price on his head.
There's probably only about 300-400 left.
Rangers tracking down poachers with shoot-to-kill orders.
Yeah, this poacher is dead.
From the African range to the American ranch, the desperate fight to save the rhino from being wiped off the face of the earth. 2 weeks from tonight.
For a transcript of 48 Hours, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007.
Penn State collides with top-ranked Notre Dame. Then the battle for the Big East, Nebraska, Oklahoma, a blockbuster doubleheader Saturday on CBS Sports.
Landmark Television, your sexual response, your body and how it works, startling new images, medical breakthroughs, new hope for men and women, inside the sexes, Monday at 10.
This is CBS.